Welcome to the Rise podcast. Conversations around faith, fatherhood.
Yep.
And
our futures.
Nope. Figuring it all out.
Figuring it all out. Okay.
You're always so close.
Well,
yeah. Eventually we'll get it.
Oh, yeah.
This is episode 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to my far right, I have the genius.
Genius.
Nate Tuff.
I am working on my master's degree. Going good. My teachers don't correct my papers, and just keep getting 100%.
At what point are you going to write new papers?
Actually, me and my my classmate that I'm really good friends with,
yeah,
we are just waiting for the end of the semester so we can hammer them on the surveys.
Oh, yeah.
I must be getting old if I'm ready to just send out some vengeful professor surveys.
Okay, you know you've changed gears when you care.
We've talked about
if
this
your
before.
Stuff's getting graded.
2 200-point papers that they haven't even opened to correct.
How do you know?
Because it shows when they've been read and when they haven't been read on D2L.
Sure. Maybe they can mark
so
as
it's frustrating.
like in an email.
Yeah. They don't want you to know that they're doing work.
Just building up some surveys that we're going to answer. So
wow.
Yep.
And to his left and my right, I have the prolific Greg Pavic.
Thank you. Yes.
You know what that means?
My reputation precedes me.
Yeah.
And by prolific,
I don't know what that means.
We're talking about the number of notifications on his cell phone.
Yes, it is in abundance. A surge, you might say.
Hey.
And I'm Maxx Raths. Well, you already gave your weekly update.
Well, hold
Anything
on a
else
second.
you want to add to it?
What are we going to call Maxx?
Oh.
No, I don't ever really get one. I just say my name.
All right.
Fair.
Yeah.
You get enough throughout the rest of the week.
He's actually projecting. He's
him.
projecting what he actually is onto us.
That's right.
And so,
well, and he probably the last two things he was called.
If you want, you know what that means?
I don't know, Greg.
I mean,
you should. You're a pastor.
Well, I know that
Barnabas wasn't his real name. Do you know that? They gave him that name.
I really think we know so little about the Bible. I think we really have problems. We don't know enough.
Okay. Oh, this guy over here.
How can we even trust that?
How can you trust it? It's been translated, man.
Oh my God.
Barnabas means son of encouragement. So you feel like that? I don't know pressure, but
it wasn't his real name.
How about Zebedee's? How about the Zebedee brothers?
I have Sons of Thunder.
There we go.
Oh, yeah.
That's what Nate calls his arms. Sons of Thunder.
Anything else you want to add to your week?
That's
update?
a good dad joke.
No.
Okay. Greg, how was your week?
It's been a busy week. I've been you guys saw the notifications.
Yeah. Shout out Easter.
Yeah. We had last week was busy. And then
you canceled book club today. So that must be pretty busy.
Yeah, the brokenness of people is astounding.
Yeah.
And I don't say that in an arrogant way.
No, there's a lot.
It keeps coming.
Yep.
There's no break.
Mm-hmm.
No lack of job security, huh?
Yeah, I guess you could say it. Totally.
Sorry, people. Max,
so, yeah,
your week.
Week update.
Week was good. Added more things to the studio.
I mean, I'm sorry to cut you off. I was telling Nate before this started. Every week I feel less qualified to be in here.
Do you?
And that's a compliment, I think.
Oh, yeah. It feels good.
Yep.
That's my goal. Intimidation, fulfilling inadequacy,
you
know.
Make people feel uncomfortable in their studio so that so I can correct their podcasts more, like build more. Oh, you got to come back and redo that one. You are so uptight. You got to come back and another hour in the studio.
You don't want them to be comfortable, enjoy themselves.
Yeah. No, the week was good. Added some more things. Got some more repurposed furniture from the Restore, which is an awesome place.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love the Restore. I think
they don't haggle on price anymore.
And they price quite high for what they are, in my opinion.
Yep. It goes to a good cause.
It goes, though.
Yeah, but they're also making profit off of people's donations. Yep. So I don't think.
Well, what do they?
But it goes to a better cause than Goodwill. I mean,
that's also. I have ethical problems with both. I do.
Goodwill isn't. I mean, it's not. They're trying to give jobs and build resumes, right?
Right. But it's not like
but it's not
nonprofit.
Not
that's
all
like,
Goodwill.
You know,
there's not a lake house at the end for the guy on the top.
Well, I would guess there is, but
yeah. Well, I'm saying for Goodwill, I don't know if the Restore's.
At the Restore, you don't know if there's
no, but the Goodwill there certainly is. Yeah.
Mostly good. Sometimes prices are like $15 higher than I want to pay.
Yeah, I bought 3 things and I tried to get a package discount and he just shut it down. Said his manager did not allow it, so I didn't argue. I just got it all anyways. I would not like you. I've seen you walk away over a nickel once in college.
You got to know things values.
You are very good at haggling.
Yeah.
The thing I'm most excited about that I bought was a new Apple computer that'll be here next week.
Really? What'd you get?
I got a new Mac Mini that has the new Apple M1 chip in it. upgraded the RAM, upgraded the storage, so it should be nice.
Did not get that at the restore.
I am so excited that you brought this up.
Yeah.
I don't understand what those are.
The Mac Mini?
Yeah. It's a little box.
Yeah.
Then you just put it on any monitor or what?
Yep. Everything you need is that computer. It's your storage and everything.
Wow.
And you can plug it into any monitor or display. I'm going to get a TV, apply a 4K TV, and use that as a display.
Wow.
Yeah.
Please go dual monitors. It's the best thing you'll ever do.
Yeah.
Dual monitors.
I was going to say, or a wide curve screen.
I'm not an accountant, so we'll see.
Oh, come on. You don't need to be an accountant.
So I'm most excited about that. That'll be great just because the chip supposedly is a game changer in terms of like processing speed, the way it all works together, and I need that for video stuff.
I've read an embarrassing amount on it for
really?
something I had no intention to purpose.
Still have no idea what it is.
Well, I don't know. No, well, the M1 chips in a lot of their things now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're
a little bit more prolific, if you will.
If you would, Nate.
That's my biggest update. Actually, I found out some shattering news a week or so ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Shattering.
Did you know one of our best friends, Hannah Tuft?
I know her. Yes, I do.
Does not listen to the podcast.
Oh my gosh! Here we go.
No, yeah.
She's never listened to a single episode.
So these magazines on the table.
Yeah.
Edited every single one of them.
She was the editor.
Senior editor.
Yep.
That was her title, correct?
I think so. Yep.
Doesn't give a rip about our podcast.
I don't think our podcast. No offense to anybody.
What are you doing over
I don't
there,
think
Nate?
our podcasts have been played for 1 minute in our house.
Wow.
From either of us. So.
Well, you heard it. You're here, but man, I think
but they
know her. She's not listening
better
to that.
than you would expect when you re-listen to them.
Maybe if we talk about some true crime stuff, she would tune in.
Yeah, we should have a true crime.
I know she's into those podcasts.
We should definitely have a true crime podcast.
Yeah.
No.
Not like just a weak theme.
I know what it's going to be about. I don't know, it's a financial institution or a bank, whatever, here on the corner. It's got one of those outside clocks.
Yep.
Okay.
It is 15 minutes slow.
No way.
You are going to end someone's life with that kind of lie you're spreading.
That's incredible.
How do you so something's going to happen with that, and then that'll be our true crime podcast.
Wow.
Yep. Because there'll be two timelines that don't match up because someone checked their watch and someone checked that, and they're like, well, how could this event have happened?
Yeah.
But because we know that clock is fast.
If there's a bank robbery, can you imagine the discrepancy in the court of law?
Yeah.
And the evidence.
So anyways, I was so shocked, and she admitted it herself.
Yeah.
Yep. And she felt bad about it. Kind of.
I don't think
she felt bad because she could tell I was hurt in a different kind of way.
I don't know if
she maybe felt bad because she found out that Rachel listened to most of them or all, and she had no interest in listening to them. So more like Rachel's shock that she hasn't listened maybe is more what she felt bad about.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I feel terrible.
Why? Because Erica's listened to a lot of them?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, she does.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I would go as far as saying it hasn't enjoyed them.
Yeah, Rachel loves. She listens to them over and over again, way more than I would listen to them.
I know who else enjoys them.
Who?
Particularly my comments.
Oh,
Max's mother.
Oh,
yeah, that's true.
Particularly my comments.
That is not a joke. That is accurate information.
Which is so refreshing.
Yeah. So that was it. We were trying to think of what to chat about today, and I had thought of something that I had read, and it was a great story about redemption in the Bible, which is, there's a couple things on redemption in there. So I was going to pick one of the ones that you could talk about.
One of the two.
Yeah.
Okay.
But before we transition to that, I just want to make sure, was there anything else that you guys wanted to discuss before we jump into that?
No, and I'm excited for the redemption story.
Okay. Well, you probably know parts of it. You probably heard parts of this before, but I had actually never heard the story put this way, and it has to do with Mark.
Okay.
You know Mark's redemption story?
I don't know. Not. I mean, please enlighten me.
So this came from. There's a book by Stephen Mansfield called "The Book of Manly Men" that I'm reading.
Okay.
And being the manly man that I am, obviously most of it's review.
Don't.
Very interesting.
You can't wear that sweater and then. If you don't.
I knew he was thinking. I knew he was going to be mean about it.
I knew he was thinking.
I just can't do it. I'm sorry. Go back to Hendrix, where everybody wears a Carhartt and jeans, and that the guy can try out some nice clothes.
Hendrix is the epicenter of Southwest Minnesota. Yes. First of all,
and not the epicenter of fashion, unless you're looking at what people in small town Minnesota wear.
I'm telling you, I don't have anything. I like Max's sweater, but I mean, it won't hold up. It won't hold up for 2 seconds out in the wild.
There's probably like 3 pairs of clean Jordans and Hendrix.
I just want to. It's rainy outside. I just want to wear my sweater. And
Don't
drink
explain
my
yourself.
Coffee like some kind of.
This is Greg's.
Home
it looks great.
All right.
This is Greg's problem, not yours. This is Greg's problem, not yours.
The most useful that would be out in the wilderness would be for kindling. For starting a fire.
You're just getting rude.
No,
this is a Greg problem, not a Maxx or a sweater problem.
Hey, in fashion, I mean, look at me. I've got a long sleeve tee with rolled up.
Careful, your employer's logo's on it.
Yeah, hey, I'm just saying I'm not claiming to know fashion. I'm just saying it's not the manliest thing I've ever seen.
Wow. Okay.
Hot take.
I guess we'll just move on.
What does that mean?
So anyway, so Mark, who wrote the Gospel of
Matthew.
Nope, actually Mark.
Really?
You'd be surprised.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So he was quite a bit younger than the disciples, but he was kind of around for most of it. It's believed that the house that they would regularly meet at was Mark's mother's house.
Yep. Sure.
And so in the Gospel of Mark, there's one little section that talks about when Jesus is arrested in the garden. That is like a very short distance from Mark's mother's house, that there is a young man who was following Jesus, and they tried to seize him, and they grabbed his linens or whatever, and he took off running naked. That's believed to be Mark, basically. And that's that kind of the embarrassing that's the low point for him, is that he abandoned Jesus in like that time. And so that's believed why he recorded that, was like, this is how he remembered it, as like this abandonment. It was embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
But through that, there's also then little pieces in Acts where you see other pieces here. So Barnabas was his cousin, and it's believed that since it's described as Mark's mother's house, that Mark's father was probably not in the picture. So we get somewhat of an impression through Acts that Barnabas kind of took on that fatherly role for Mark.
Okay.
And so in the beginning of Acts, when I don't know if it's the Holy Spirit that speaks, or if they just kind of decide that Paul and Barnabas should go out together and serve, they decide to bring Mark with them. And Mark makes it like 3 or 4 verses, and he goes back home. Kind of get the idea that he like does that again, sort of. He like bails out, whatever, abandons them. You don't think too much of it until much later. Barnabas and Paul have a sharp dispute over reconnecting with Mark a little bit later on in the gospel, or in Acts, and you've heard of that, I'm sure, before.
Sure.
Barnabas and Paul kind of go their separate ways because they're arguing over Mark, essentially, and it has to do with that time he abandoned them. But then there's that other backstory of him being kind of this little kid that's always was around the disciples and abandoned Jesus and just didn't have a father. And so there's all this backstory to who Mark is, and Barnabas really cares about him. So fast forward, Barnabas and Paul split, and it's kind of sad because they actually never do anything together again. That's the last you really hear of it. Barnabas goes and we believe links up with Mark, whatever. And the story somewhat seems to end there. And you also get the idea that most of the early church backs Paul during that sharp dispute. They believe that he is right in just saying, like, we don't have time for this kind of, like, the too much is at stake to mess around with someone that's not serious about it.
Yep.
And so the church goes like, agrees, like, yeah, we just got to keep going. So then the next time you hear about this is in Paul's final letter to Timothy. The final letter he writes, period. So he's in prison.
Knows the time's coming to the end.
Yeah, the last time, he's no longer in like his own house, kind of like house arrest prison. He's in like real prison, like in a basement, whatever. And the way he ends it is with, I think he tells Timothy to send Mark because he is helpful in his ministry. And so there's like this little background thread that we don't exactly see, but there's this like redemption story of this young guy, Mark, who doesn't really have it figured out. At some point, he fails here, he fails there, but at some point he just like submits or like decides to just go all in, whatever. And there's this like grand background redemption story that then leads to Paul, who's writing 2/3 New Testament, like the most important figure, sans Jesus in the New Testament, advocating that Mark is the most helpful person to him in his ministry.
After he already turned him away and like made him the enemy of the, not enemy, but
well, kind of like just cast aside of the other side of the like, coin. No, we don't have time for that. Right. And then later on, it's like, no, now he's the guy. I need him. Please send him.
Yep.
That is so cool.
Very cool. I can't imagine Paul would have been like a super fun guy to work with.
Way less fun than you ever would like to imagine.
Like great. Yeah. I mean, so necessary for the church and for, you know, I mean, he knew what he was doing.
I remember Rachel years ago said she hated reading anything that Paul wrote because she said he's so arrogant. And I thought, can you say that about anyone?
Yeah, because I'm on Barnabas and Mark's side. Darn right.
Tell me why. This is like Kong versus mostly Godzilla here. This is interesting.
I'm just basing it on the story I just heard.
I understand.
Not really any facts built into it.
But
yeah. Just lighten up Paul, kind of.
Just seems like the side I would have chosen.
Yeah, I gotcha.
I think you would have too. I don't know what side I would have been on.
Because you don't think I'm all in.
Yeah. No, I just think you have a lot of grace and a lot of empathy for individual people. It'd be hard for you to look at someone like Mark and see, like, he grew up without a dad. He, doesn't have it all figured out, but like, we're not just going to abandon him. I just know that'd be your perspective.
It is an interesting thing to think about, though, because I've been thinking about this as I'm building like coaching staffs and stuff now. And I told one of my friends the other day that I just need like an assistant that I can be as mean as possible to, like just test out how far of a jerk I can actually be. Mm-hmm. Because in the next
I thought
assistant,
that's what Joel was for.
Then I was not mean to Joel. The next assistant after that guy that I'm really mean to, I can know where to like draw that line where I can hold him accountable to a certain point, and I could get used to being. I know you don't need to do this. I'm exaggerating. I
gotcha.
But like for accountability wise, and for like how to be like a whatever you want to say, like a king boss, like. You have to know kind of where that line is. And I've never even tried to toe that line of being like too demanding or too, like jerk is obviously a mean word to say, more demanding on somebody than I want to be.
I get what you're saying. I don't know if it works that way. I feel like every person, that line's going to be in a very different spot.
Right. But I'm not trying to help them. I'm trying to help myself in what I'm saying. Like, so I push myself to how demanding I can be, or how like ruthless, and how like I need this and exactly this. Because there's a lot of coaches that are like jerks, like really mean to their staffs and really demanding and really like hard to work for. Mm-hmm. And I am completely opposite of that in my personality. So like, I'm half kidding, but
no, but like, you got to move in the middle somewhere
to find that line to go past, and then it's easier to bring it back and find that. But that's where Paul found that line where he needed to be demanding and his purpose. And so that's obviously not going to work for everybody, but
well, he had such a, eternal perspective that it was just like, if anything, it was incredibly helpful to the early church. And well, I can't critique Paul necessarily because there's so much I don't know in the context.
Well, he kind of had a gun to his head.
What's that?
Kind of had a gun to his head.
And what do you mean?
Well, the first encounter he had with Christ, he blinded him and made him completely dependent on someone else.
Sure.
And like said, I need you. Like, what are you gonna do? Like,
well, totally.
That's not in like a threatening way, but in like I firsthand understand the power that is behind this. So not only do I believe it that much, but also what other choice do I have?
Yeah.
It doesn't happen the way it is unless he has the personality he has.
Right.
It just doesn't happen. Like the world needs demanding people. Southwest Minnesota might not be the place where they develop the most demanding of people.
Yeah,
but,
well, that's
Mark got off easy if you think about Paul's personality. Yeah. That dude was stoning people when he thought that the church was against God. I mean, we knew his personality was like.
Yeah, well, and that's where like.
That's true. So he did push it too far. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's the line.
It's reel it in, Paul. Reel it in.
The line which is like I've heard many times before is it's like some people are so heavenly minded they're no earthly good. Yeah. And some people are so earthly minded they're no heavenly good. And it's you gotta. No, I think Dave's mom did actually.
Oh.
But that's the line, of you got to be heavenly minded, and you got to see things that are just like. It's not all about here and now, but it's not. I mean, but this here and now is here and now,
right?
And so you got to deal with that, and you got to take people into consideration, and so, you got to have grace and understanding, in the same time, like realizing like this really isn't that big a deal. So like, let's work for something that's going to last, and let's work for things that are going to be around in eternity, and strive for something, you know, and put up with the temporary, you know, suck once in a while. So
yeah, that's true.
But there is a line there that you got to find.
So I just want to find the other side of it so that I can come back. Cause I'm just not that, like with adults, it's hard to be super demanding. Like it's an uncomfortable.
Maybe don't try to find the other side of it, but try to stretch in that direction.
To it, yeah. But it is easy once you find the line to like adjust to where you want to be. I'm not going to do it.
Because my fear would be like, you just don't know what people turn into. No, not even you. I know you wouldn't turn into a jerk, but the one guy you ran this experiment on 10 years down the road is a guy you're looking for a job from.
No, 100%.
And he's like, I promise I'm not that guy. Like, yeah, sure, I worked for you. I know what kind of guy.
And I made him who he is. He'll always remember that year.
Yeah.
This really nice guy I interviewed with just turned into the Hulk when he hired me.
Just a bear. So it's somewhat related, but mainly about just Mark's failures before his redemption. How much time do we have? What are we at right now? 22? Okay, awesome. So we could do 8 minutes or 10 minutes, something like that.
Whatever.
On the topic of failure, what's your biggest one?
My biggest failure is that I haven't had a failure, and it's so hard to learn. You know, people say you got to learn from failure. It's just like, well,
that'll be tough. Yeah,
you don't have one.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, no. All right, let's think about biggest failure. Somebody else got something off the top of their head?
I don't feel like I've like failed. Like when I think of failing, I feel like you're like at the bottom and it's hard to like bounce back, like that you need redemption from it and stuff. I don't know that I've been there, but like I've had goals that I try to do. Like when I ran at NDSU, like I thought I was going to be that runner at NDSU, and I got hurt and I lasted 2 years and I ended up quitting and going into coaching and stuff. But like you could look at that as a failure, but I learned so much through those things that it's hard for me to look back at them as failures.
Yeah,
so, like same with like my first year as the head coach at Ridgewater, I went 5-19 on a 12-game losing streak. Like never experienced anything like that in my life. Yeah. So in the middle of that, it feels like you're failing at what you're hired to do. But like I came out of that season with a list of things that I never wanted to have happen again, and motivated to do this and motivated to do things a different way.
And understanding how to keep it from happening.
Like I knew how to do it, and I just gained so much from that experience that it's hard for me to look at it as a failure now. Like, but maybe in that minute, maybe you guys can remember that year. Maybe I was crabby as I'll get out for that winter, but I don't know.
I don't know what I mean? A lot of years where you're crabby. So it's hard to figure out.
That's what Hannah says too.
Which one?
We should honestly name this podcast episode Hannah, just for the amount that she's been talking about.
Notice it.
If she sees the headline,
she'll never see it. So that's what's the
But
difference.
I don't know. It's probably failures are useful to me, but I've never had a serious enough failure that like I know what that means. You know what I mean? Like some people have seriously failed out of their career or out of college and or in a marriage, whatever. Like they've seriously failed. So that's a lot different than the things that I've experienced, I think.
I think what you said is relatable. Like your perspective changes over time. So you definitely have things in the moment where you feel like this has failed. And then as time goes on, you realize like, oh, well, that was actually super helpful, or it wasn't as big a failure as you thought. Like life didn't really actually stop. And here's one on a, here's you guys know this story already, but on a like the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of deal, but is a moment where I felt like I failed somebody, and that was hard for me. Was you guys remember the story of when my grandma?
Don't tell this story.
This
Come on, dude.
It hurts my heart.
Don't do this. This is
so.
Come on, dude. Way too soon.
So what happened was,
like kill his grandma or anything, just to brace the audience.
We had good.
I didn't know she was allergic to lilies.
Now everybody's.
I had no idea. I was totally innocent. So what happened was she gives me her. Nate, come on, let me get through this. She gives me her wedding ring of 50 years to get cleaned when I visit her, but as like people do, especially old people do, it's like you don't give them a box or anything. It's like takes a envelope that's been reused for like 9. Now I'm not making excuses for what happened. I'm just saying like, geez, could you give me like you wrap up your super nice engagement ring that Grandpa got in Germany when whatever, and it's just like wrap it in a old envelope like 55 times that you were using for rubber bands in your counter or something. You know what I mean? It's just like, come on, like, to give it, and
because you're gonna get it clean.
Gonna get it clean.
Okay, yep.
Gonna get it clean for never probably has been cleaned in 50 years, and at some point, like, it is gone. Gone
from your pocket,
from my pocket, from my possession. Period. I'm like, we turned the house. Erica and I turned the house upside down, and that is not just a figure of speech. And we did it probably 4 or 5 times, and like to the point where you get so obsessed, you're checking in like suit pants pockets that you haven't wore the suit in 3 years, and well, yeah, you guys know where it's going.
Didn't you like look in the garbage too? In the did you go to the dump?
I can't remember.
I think you went to the dump and
went to the dump. I mean, dug through our own garbage for times, and then I get to I have to go finally, and have to go have a conversation with him. And I mean, just crushing conversation. The ring you gave me, ring, like, it's gone.
Oh,
brutal. So brutal. Yeah, it was just terrible.
That's like my least favorite story. I hate that.
Of all time.
One of the least favorite I've heard.
Yeah, so just totally felt like I just failed him, let him down.
Yeah, that's, that would fit. That sucks.
Yeah, so grand scheme of things, it's like
just a physical thing.
Right.
Physical thing.
Yeah.
Important.
Representing a covenant, but
yeah,
sure, yeah.
Bound by God himself. Yeah, man.
No, that would suck.
They were still married after you lost the ring, or they were?
They were.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
Yeah. It wasn't that great a mistake.
Yeah, that sucks.
Anyway, Max, what do you got? I know we're closing up on time here.
I didn't have necessarily a specific one. I think I would consider the Rise magazine in some ways a failure. Again, like with Nate, it doesn't weigh that heavily on me because I feel like it always leads to the next thing. And if you hold on long enough, it just is part of the, the redemption or the thing that you were really happy you eventually got to. So just at what point you decide to look at something like that.
Yeah.
But I definitely had higher hopes for it. I had some naivety in just like a lot of it had to do with what you're talking about with coaching. I had people that were ready and willing to participate, and it was difficult for me to put expectations on people that I couldn't pay, and therefore I took everything on myself, and then it quickly burned out because I couldn't do everything forever.
Right. And I think you did the right thing with reaching out to people, and myself included. It's just like,
yeah. Well, a lot of people reached out to me too, and it was just like, I just don't know what I can have you do. It wasn't even like a lack of trust. It was just like a lack of.
Well, and like on my side, maybe even follow through. You know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah, I just want to be a burden to someone else, or be like, I feel like I'm doing all this work, and it's like not going anywhere. So I just took way too much on. Couldn't sustain it. In the end, I look back on it with fondness and like really happy with what we created, and like it. I think it's just so cool.
Yeah, I think it's so sweet.
But do I wish it was still going? Yeah, I do.
Okay.
But I don't want to be doing it. I wish it was like I would have been able to keep going and then slowly phasing out of the day to day.
Yeah.
Maybe I could have, but it was just way too much at the time. So that's probably the primary one. Yeah, I mean, there's others I'm sure that are not necessarily coming to mind. Oh, a big one I probably, when Rachel and I first got married and I talked her into letting us buy a $15,000 Audi when we had like.
With water damage.
We had like, I don't know, $1,000 in our savings account.
Sure.
Like.
Hey, you don't get.
It was not a good decision.
You don't get rich with money in your savings account.
Yeah. It was meant to be a long-term car. It was meant to be like, well, let's just spend the money early in our marriage. Let's have this until we have kids.
Yeah.
And then we'll trade this in.
Yep.
And that way we're not just constantly recycling dumpy cars.
Sure.
Didn't work that way. It was just a curse on our family.
It's just It's always easy to justify purchases like that.
But it came in the end. You came out okay.
We did. We got the insurance money and all that covered it great. Yeah.
Don't regret it too much. It was worth a shot.
No, it was fine. Yeah.
You were an Audi man for a minute.
Yeah, and I do still like them, but they rub me the wrong way based on the way they handled the car. Like I don't really like their brand as much anymore. But I loved it before.
You'd probably have a different if you would have bought a new one.
Yeah, different experience.
Even the car would have lasted forever if you would have bought a new one.
And I mean, how you treated some of your friends while they're eating meatball subs in the car. Oh, yeah. Maybe something to reflect on, too.
A week after I got this Audi, I was super pumped about it. Where did we go? Up to the cities for something?
I think it was a bachelor party.
Yeah. And on the way up, we stop at Subway, and Greg gets a meatball marinara from Subway. Which
extra sauce.
Already a bad choice. And they made it very much extra sauce.
Yeah, I didn't ask for extra sauce, but there was extra sauce.
The bread was falling apart. There was so much marinara, and I was like white knuckling it the whole way.
Max looked at me more than the road. He's just
probably threw the Subway wrapper away right away too, just using the little white paper instead of.
I just saw a meatball rolling down like right here where the seatbelt goes, where you can't ever
you can never clean it out. That's just like meatball home now.
Yeah,
I was legitimately mad.
Oh, you should be. As you should be.
But I didn't. Because he didn't get a drop of marinara anywhere.
Oh, he didn't. Okay.
He was so particular and safe, and he could sense the tension.
The tension.
Were you glad you had a meatball sub as you were driving, or do you looking like while you were driving? Did you wish you would have gotten a Italian BMT or something?
No, I mean, I that's what I wanted. I'm glad I got it. And it became a great challenge.
That's a good story.
Great story.
I remember you saying partway through, this was not worth it. Just because I was being such a jerk the whole time. You were like,
was very annoyed.
This is not, you were like, yeah, I shouldn't have got this. I get it. I am really sorry.
Yeah, no, it was a little disaster.
That's so funny.
But you were eating Subway as you were driving too?
Yeah, but I think I was eating one that's not going to fall apart. Yeah,
but eating Subway as you're driving is harder than you think too.
Yeah.
It's kind of a wild.
Was I?
It was a tough choice.
I'm sure you were.
Eating it? So I was eating Subway, watching the road, and chastising you all at once. Wow.
Overall, you both could have made better decisions on where you ate on the way out of town.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even Jimmy John's would have been easier.
Well, we were in Norwood, Young America, so he's got Subway or McDonald's.
Yeah, what do you do?
Yeah, that's true. There's a Dairy Queen in Norwood, Young America.
Well, there's a Burger King
also a Quick Trip there. That is a killer.
That was not there.
That's true.
It is, but Quick Trip.
Yeah. All right, I think we should wrap it up.
That's our show?
I think so.
All right. Thank you so much. Till next time.